This is one of the pictures I used for my dating apps in 2019, and this is from 2023. And finally, this is from 2025. I'm the same person in all these pictures, but the way that women responded wasn't just different. It was like I was playing a completely different game, and I'm going to show you exactly what changed. Now let's rewind the clock back to 2019. I was in college. I decided to give dating apps a try. I got on Tinder and Bumble, and these were the pictures that I ended up using. I thought I looked decent in these pictures. I made sure to vary the background, and I also took off my glasses because I didn't want to look like a nerd. I was basically blind during all these pictures, but the results I got from the apps was pretty underwhelming. I just got a couple matches from mostly girls that also went to the same school as me, but I did not really get much responses from them. I am assuming they matched me just because we went to the same school, not because they were actually interested. After a few months of that, I basically gave up. And then COVID hit. Essentially, I didn't bother with dating apps after that. Now, flash forward to 2022. I decided it was time to get back into the game. I'm going to do whatever it takes to succeed on dating apps. I wanted to look as good as humanly possible in my photos. I had gotten pretty fat during that time, so I had a lot of weight to cut down. Here's what I did. First off, I made sure to lose the weight. At that point, I was about 190 pounds, so I made sure to cut down all the way to about 150 pounds. I also got LASIK and ditched the glasses permanently. I also changed my hairstyle. Up until then, for the first 20 years of my life, my mom cut my hair, basically 99% of the time. What I did was I actually went all the way to New York to cut my hair. It was a $200 haircut. And honestly, looking back, it probably was not worth the $200, but at least I felt like I wasn't holding back. I also started to put more thought into exactly what I was wearing. And finally, I made sure to schedule a proper photo shoot. I enlisted the help of my friends. I even paid for an entire trip for us to go all the way down to Miami to get some vacation photos. My friend thought I was crazy paying for the entire trip, but I needed those pictures. I even made sure to edit my photos so I looked the best that I could. Obviously, I did not go overboard, as that is catfishing, but I definitely look better in my photos than I did in real life. So here are some of the pictures I used at the beginning of 2023. And the results, it was a night and day difference. Not only did I get more matches, but I also got more dates. In 2019, I probably got about 20 matches total, and I got 0 dates from those matches. But in 2023, I was getting 20 to 30 matches per day across all my apps. And typically, I would get 1 date out of every 20 to 30 matches. But that just goes to show, once you do lock in and completely transform your profile, you can really start to get results. As a matter of fact, my first date ever was from Tinder. And the girl came right over. I did not even have to go pick her up. And of course, I fumbled that date, but that's a story for another time. Now back to my other matches. This was something that I was definitely not prepared for because I definitely went overboard. At one point, I was going on more than 10 dates per week, which means I was doubling up, even tripling up on certain days. But I'm not going to lie, I did not really have much standards back then. I basically swiped right on any girl that was acceptable. I was just trying to get any date at that point. I pulled my Tinder data from that time, and here's what it showed. I got about 2,600 matches on Tinder across the 5 months that I was using it. My match rate was about 20% for the profiles that I swiped right on. But as you can see here, I did not have very high standards as I swiped right on 60% of the profiles that I saw. So what actually changed compared to 2019? Well, first off, I made sure I actually got lean this time. In the previous photo, I was probably closer to that 20% range, but this time I made sure to get lean. The other thing is I made sure to ascribe to a certain vibe. As you can tell from my photos, I was going for that Korean drama look. We all know that Korean culture is becoming more popular in the West, so that definitely played in my favor. The other thing is I'm also older at this point. I was 23 instead of 20. Back in 2019 when I was 20, I could only realistically match with girls that are around my age or younger, which is 18 to 20-year-olds, because typically girls don't like to match with guys that are younger than them. That's just the general trend. So at 23 years old, I had a much wider pool of girls that are willing to go out with me, 18 to 23-year-olds. That basically doubled my pool. I also used way more apps. In 2023, I basically used all the apps. I tried Bumble, Tinder, Hinge, Plenty of Fish, Coffee Meets Bagel, OkCupid. I basically tried all the popular ones. And I put a lot more effort into it as well. I was on these apps hours per day, replying to conversations, swiping, versus in 2019, I just casually opened the apps. So what's the outcome of all of this? Well, by the 2-month mark of using the apps, I actually met a girl that I eventually got into a relationship with. However, that relationship did not end up lasting very long. Now let's fast forward to 2024. At this point, I spent about 2 years on the apps. During those 2 years, I easily gone on over 200 dates. I also did a bunch of traveling, so I tried using the apps within the US and also internationally. So I got a sense of how dating apps work abroad and in different cities. During this time, I also kept trying to improve my photos and taking more photos while I am on trips. Over time, I also figured out the proper way to text to actually get dates, and also how to act and behave on these dates for a good outcome. However, my mindset also gradually changed over time. When you have too many options, your standards and expectations skyrocket. Depending on the city that I'm in, I could be getting 50 to 100 matches per day, or even thousands of matches over the course of a weekend. I finally understood what it was like to be a girl on these apps. The options are overwhelming. You're only really going to want the top 10 to 20% of the matches that you're getting. That's the only population you're going to be interested in, right? Because if you have, say, 100 matches, you cannot realistically or feasibly entertain all of them. So you are going to pick your favorite 10. And because of that, I was able to understand why girls behave a certain way on these apps, because I was doing the same thing. I would match with people and ghost because maybe I matched with them the first time and I didn't see their picture properly, and upon further inspection I actually did not really like how they look, so I would ghost. Or maybe I'm talking to someone and I started talking to someone else and I liked the other person better, so I stopped talking to the first one. Or I scheduled a date with a girl and then a girl I'm more interested in wanted to meet up the same night, so I ended up flaking on the first girl. So all these behaviors that drove me crazy initially started to make sense. To the average guy, dating apps are disappointing and failure feels like an attack on their self-worth. And that's where I started. But now that I'm here, I can really see the perspective from both sides. To me, it was like unlocking cheat codes in a game. In the beginning, it's very exciting, but once the game becomes too easy, it gets boring. It is human nature to never be content with what you have. So over time, I started becoming unsatisfied with the dates I was getting, and I wanted more. Some of my dates went well, but others did not go so well. I began to wonder, why did some dates fail, but other dates succeed? Well, my behavior and how I looked and how I texted were all the same. Maybe we just didn't vibe, but that's not really a solution to my problem. One thing I did come up with is perhaps it's because I was subtly catfishing these girls, because I definitely looked better in my photos than I did in real life. Maybe some girls care more than others. So I got plastic surgery because I thought that if I look better in real life, or I look closer to how I look in my photos in real life, then I can increase my odds of success on a date. Now, that is not the only reason why I got plastic surgery, but it is one of the main reasons. The thing is I did not really notice too much of a difference in my results after the surgery. Maybe that just goes to show that my original photos were already good enough. But to be fair, my standards were pretty high at this point, so maybe I was getting better results, but I just wasn't noticing it as much. I do think I look objectively better than I did before. However, I also didn't go on as much dates anymore because I just lost the motivation to go on them. I would say 80 to 90% of my dates were from before the surgery. So I can't really judge the difference in results because the sample sizes aren't close enough. So after plastic surgery and a few months of recovery, these are some of the pictures that I ended up with. I think I do look better in these pictures and it looks closer to how I look in real life now. So what's the key takeaway here? If you're someone that's looking to improve their dating app experience, you really have to lock in. Just losing 10 pounds is probably not enough for you. Just hiring a dating app coach to coach you to text better is probably not going to be enough. Just hiring a photographer to take better pictures of you isn't going to cut it, most likely. What you need to do is you actually need to do all of those things. You need to lock in and go all out, no holding back. You need to make sure you look as good as possible in your photos. Because in the end, the dating apps are a competition. Women on these apps aren't comparing you to yourself. They're comparing you with their other options. That's what I learned as well over time because I was only entertaining my best matches, the top 20%. So similarly, if you want to be successful on these apps, you need to outcompete other men. So losing just 10 pounds or hiring a photographer or improving your text game is probably not going to be enough to do better than these other men. Now, obviously, there's a lot more to unpack here, but that's the overview. If there's any specific topics you want me to cover more in depth, please leave a comment down below and also comment on where you are at in your own journey. Are you in your 2019 phase, 2023, or somewhere in between? Stay tuned and I'll catch you all next time.